Hello there. You see me here, relaxing in my study room. But today we're going on a journey of discovery. We're starting off in a nuclear power station, but our adventure does not end there. In fact, the tale I have to tell today starts off in Downham Market, a peaceful Norfolk town. From there we head to the seedy streets of Hamburg's Reeperbahn, before heading on to a nuclear power station somewhere on the Franco-Belgian border, for coming to our thrilling denouement in the peace and quiet of rural Herefordshire, 20 minutes drive from where I grew up. Shall we begin?
So, our story begins with Your Computer of May 1985. I was looking for some type-in games to play on a Twitch stream all about fairgrounds, and I came across this one, which involved machine code, called Dodgems, which I duly typed in, didn't work, and played it. And Dodgems was written by a lovely man called Julian Wood from Downham Market in Norfolk. So, it's all well and good. However, scrolling through the rest of the magazine, I came across an interesting letter which led me to this game, Nuke Lear, a game by CCS, or Case Computer Simulations, who I was more familiar with as a producer of rather good war games such as the Desert Rats. In Nuke Lear, you are a technician trying to safely dispose of nuclear waste in a nuclear power station of the future. So here it is, written by B. Bartis, who was from Germany. It's rigorously protected by copyright. Press any key to continue. 1984 computer game. You get to use either Kempston or cursor keys. I'm using the cursor keys to say no to Kempston. You get to type your two-letter initial for your little nuclear technician, who strolls around the screen quite jolly. And here we are. I've played this a few times already. So the blue barrels are barrels of nuclear waste. You control yourself with the cursor keys, and you have to divert the barrels into the cyan pipes. When they reach the bottom, they're stored safely. If, however, they reach the bottom of the green pipes, they then start leaking, causing problems, and you have to go and dispose of them. If there are any leaking barrels at all, then you don't get paid. And it's all done using the cursor keys up and down these pipes, and it's rather nippy. I was a bit surprised. I thought, have I perhaps put the emulator on super speed? And I haven't. It generally is this fast. So here, there at the bottom, I've got a red barrel in number 1 state, which means I'm not getting any money anymore. If you get 5 barrels in the same place, in the bad place, they will explode and you get fired. This is a bad thing. Once you get 9 barrels in the good place, which is the cyan set area, that's the end of the game, and you might get promoted. So I'm currently on level 1. So the barrels drop down. So here I've got 7 and 6. You get more points based on diverting the barrels the higher up you are. But it's a rather jolly little game. Level 1's rather easy, but it's good. It's interesting and challenging enough, going up and down the pipes. It drops down, it drops down. It's a little bit finicky getting into position, because he does run around like a maniac. So I'm not getting paid much because I've got that barrel at the bottom. Here we are, I've mastered 96% and that's a game over. So that should mean on the next go I get promoted. Indeed, I'm now at level 2, so a little bit harder. The barrels roll along and they all randomly drop down the hole. Once they're in the blue zone, you're fine. You can store as many as you like in one of them. Oh, I've missed that. I'll have to go down the pipe. I've gone too far, but I'll catch it here. Let's try and get that one and try and catch this one. Excellent, I'm doing pretty well here. It's really rather nippy. On higher levels, apparently the telephones ring, And while a telephone's ringing, you don't get paid either. You have to go and answer the phone. Oh, and I've missed that one. And I've missed that one. But you can just sweep them up and probably put them in the bin. That one's safe. I'll go and, oh, missed that one. I've got that one now, which is nice. Got 2 barrels there in the red zone. Therefore, I'm not going to get paid, so to go and tidy those up. Nudge those barrels to safety. It's a rather jolly little game. And the original cost of this game was £2.99. Tidy up the radioactive waste. So I've got 9 barrels in the left safe zone. You can't send barrels back up again. I've got 1 and 1 in the 2 red. Move it to safety. So barrels at the bottom, which is not too good. And you go and tidy those up at some point. There we are. So get my barrels across to the good zone. And that will be the end of the game. Have I done well enough to get promoted with the barrels on the floor? 89%. I don't think I have. I think you need to get over 90% to get promoted. This is the letters page of your computer from May 1985. On the left we've got the top 20 and the top 3 by machine. A letter says congratulations. A star letter calling people to save their old computers for the future, not just throw them away, because they might be worth money. But here is the letter that caused this video. A letter entitled Nuke Lear. Do you know Nuke Lear from CCS? I do not. It's the best buy on the market. Why? It costs only $2.99. It's the only game that can be enjoyed by beginners and experts alike. Levels 1 and 2 are for kids. Levels 3 to 7 are hard enough for the best shoot-'em-up champions. Levels 8 and 9 will never be finished, even by the best. You get a free compiler with it. Just load it by typing clear 3999, load W code 59900, 5636, then type in or load your basic program. Type randomize USR 60,000 to compile it, randomize user 40,000 equals start address to run the compiled version. It will run 20 to 100 times faster than the basic version. H. Schneider, Hamburg, West Germany. I shall take Herr Schneider at his word. So I've just reset the emulator and I've now gone to clear 39999, which says anything above 40,000 is reserved. I'm now going to load W at address 59900 for a length of 5636 bytes. On the tape for Nuke Lear, there are several types of machine code. If you put W, you'll find the one we actually want, which is the free compiler. So I shall load that into memory. Having done that, I'm now going to load a game from Cassette 50. All these games were basic games. A lot of them ran very, very slowly. So slowly that they're unplayable or just generally rubbish. However, if they were 20 to 100 times faster, as Herr Schneider promises, maybe they might be a lot more fun. So we're starting off with Monster Muncher, a very dull Pac-Man clone that I improved and made even worse. This is the original version from Cassette 50. That's now loaded. It doesn't auto-load because it's Cassette 50 and it's rubbish. So first of all, here's all the code. Now we're going to compile it. I'll do random USR 60,000 and we'll see if Herr Schneider is as true as his word. Wye Valley software, and we've got nonsense and basic on the first line. Now, I grew up in the Wye Valley, so that's rather interesting, and it's written by Martin Lewis, presumably the money-saving expert. So it doesn't like line 1, which starts off with restore. So let's try and fix that. Well, let's do it again, to be sure. No, I don't like that. Nonsense in basic, okay. So, you can run it, but it doesn't work because nothing happens. So here's restore. How can we fix this? Because it looks fine to me. There are no strange characters in there. So let's put restore number 1, which has the same basic effect anyway. Let's now compile it. So it likes restore 1, but doesn't like let high equals 0. And I don't know why. There's nothing wrong with it. It's perfectly valid basic. We're now going to try the next game, which is a Frogger clone. Which actually was alright, although it broke once I won, which annoyed me. So Frogger's now loaded. Let's try and compile Frogger. See what it doesn't like about Frogger. Line 20 doesn't like clear 3, which sets the memory to be about 16K. So let's try and run it on its own. Yeah, it works perfectly fine. So it's Wye Valley software. Let's try and write our own program now to make sure it vaguely works. 10 print sausages, 20 go to 10. Perfectly reasonable. That works in BASIC, as you would imagine. Let's try and compile it. Does it compile? Yeah, well, that compiles fine. Can we run it with random user 40,000? Yeah, works fine. Obviously not much faster. Let's try and add some more interesting code in. What I'm going to try and do. Let's put a random number in. No, let's set available to 50. 50 times, yeah, 50 times something. Random. So the idea is we're going to set up X to be 50, 100 or 150. Same with Y. Good old random numbers, and Z as well. Set 3 variables up. Let's now draw a nice little circle of a random location on the screen and a random thing. And you see here, it works fine. We get nice circles and the word sausages appears. This is lovely. Right, can we compile this? No, we can't. It doesn't work if you compile it. At this point, I've started looking around thinking, what on earth is going on? And I found some documentation, which we'll be getting to in a little while. But now it likes this. We've added a REM statement, which is just a comment. And we now get the word sausages on line 1, slowly moving to the left, and an explosion. So going over to Spectrum Computing led us to find out that Wye Valley software will produce the Wye Compiler, and they were based in Erdesley, which is about 20 minutes drive from where I used to live in Herefordshire. The Wye Compiler had an original price of £7.99. When you produce games with the Wye Compiler, you had to include some of the machine code in order for it to run. You did this by saving it to tape, exactly as Nuke Lear did. The routines are still under copyright, of course, and you're not meant to export them. But after loading the compiler, it says press any key to clear, which you do, and you then run it with randomized user 60,000. And it also comes with documentation. There are 2 pieces of documentation on the site, one in English, one in Spanish, one produced by Prontoprint of Hereford. So looking at the documentation, there are certain limitations of what you can and can't do in BASIC that goes to the BASIC compiler. So rather than rewriting some of the code from Cassette 50, I flicked through Tim Hartnell's giant book of Spectrum games to see ones that didn't look too difficult, and came across this one called Roadrunner by Alistair Gourlay. It's only a couple of pages. Essentially, you have a section of track on the roadway, and you move through it by pressing up and down, avoiding the barriers. And you have to do 10 things. Nice and simple, not too bad. So what I would do first, I type it in as written in the book, get it working normally, and then I'll try and compile it and get it to work in the amazingly compiled way. So the interesting thing to remember is that Nuke Lear cost £2.99, the actual compiler cost £7.99, so you made a huge saving and you got a free game. But you did not get the documentation. So this is Roadrunner as typed in. Your little Space Invader thing moves along. Nice and simple. You can see the clock top right, that's elapsed time. So here we are, nice and simple. Oh, I ran into a wall. Basically, that is Roadrunner. And there are some beeps and boops, and it then restarts. Beep into a wall. So I've now saved it to tape. I'm now going to try and assemble it. And it goes, oh, it doesn't like line 100. So one of the things you're not allowed to do is you can't have equations outside of brackets. So all calculations must be included within brackets. That's problem number one. The second problem is all numbers are integer. Therefore, it doesn't like the word int at all. Random in normal basic gives you a number between 0 and 1, exclusive. In Wye Valley compiled basic, it gives you a number between 0 and 32767. So here I really want a random number between 0 and 3. So here I'm going to say, what is 32767 divided by 3, and divide the random number by that, which sort of ish works. So now try again. Are we okay? No, because we have a calculation outside of a bracket. So we pop those inside the bracket. This is not onerous, to be fair so far. And we've got another one. So, you are not allowed to reference strings. You can have strings like print hello, that's fine, but in keys returns a number. So here I'm going to say, you have to say code in keys and the code of the string, which is basically just works out the same, it's not too bad. So here it's if you press Z, which means down, you add 1 to Y. If you press Q, which is up, you subtract 1 from Y. And it's not at all keen on that at all. You can't do complex things in one line. For example, you can have if statements, they're fine. You can't have ands inside the if. So you have to nest the ifs. So yeah, it really doesn't like that. It does not like that at all. So what I'm going to do is split it out into several lines. So first of all, the variable k is going to be what key you pressed. What we're going to do instead, it's going to be a bit easier. So if k is code Z, which is, if you press the down button, then we are going to add 1 to Y. And this must be in brackets. If I think brackets, it won't compile. Does it like that line? Yes, it does. So I'm now going to do the line for pressing up, which is code Q. And because you're doing print at, the higher up the screen you are, the lower Y is. And then we get rid of line 190. Boop. So now you're allowed to have screen string, but it's got to be a code, which is the number. So what we're trying to say is if the character you're at is X, then you've crashed. It seems to accept it. Beep works differently. You still have the two numbers, but you're not allowed to have integers anymore. So you're not allowed to have floating point numbers. So with beep, you get two numbers. The first number is the length, and the second number is the frequency. So decreasing the frequency, so decreasing Y increases the frequency, so it's the delay between square wave cycle output. So it's all a bit weird. And also it's not going to like run either. But the nice thing is we can just replace run with go to 10. Are we close? Very close. We're now into the user-defined graphics section. Again, we have a calculation, which is an address plus a number. So now we should be tickety-boo. It's certainly compiled, so it's now able to run. So we're now going to randomize user 40,000 to run our code. And it's incredibly fast. We only have the top line, and we've loaded numbers in the middle of the screen. But we've won the game. So we're going to try and fix it. There's a number of things I need to fix. So 217 REM B gives you sensitivity to pressing brake. If you don't put that in, it ignores you pressing brake. So this will allow me to break into the code if it's broken, which is handy. Otherwise you don't get that. You can get stuck in the code forever. I'm now going to try and put in some delays, which is very, very much finger in the air. I'm basically putting in random delays for x was 1 to 90,000 next x. That delay was already in there in the basic code. That was 1 to 90. I made it 90,000 in the hope of slowing it down. Line 183 looks like a delay, except it doesn't actually do anything because I don't have the next z there. So this is the basic code, and you now see it being incredibly slow because I've got a massively slow delay. To prove it does work. So now I'm going to try and fix this by splitting it into 2 lines, because we're not getting the bottom line. So this is running, again incredibly slow. It still works. Also, if you haven't tidied up on the line before, I'm going to compile it. And I'm going to fail to compile because I went to the wrong number. It's 60,000, not 6,000. Compile clean. We've still got the rubbish numbers, and it's still incredibly fast. Also, when you break out of it, the paper is black and so is the ink. And what we're doing here is trying to put in some basic checking such that if you go off the screen, it'll actually tell you rather than as breaking. Now here, I'm desperately trying to sort out the crash detection. Unfortunately, you can't use not, and it doesn't seem to like equal to space. What we're trying to say is, if you hit an X, that didn't work. If it's not space and you've crashed, it doesn't like that either. But it's rather finicky, and the only doc you get are these 2 printouts on Spectre Computing, one in English, one in Spanish. The one in Spanish is photocopied, but it's actually quite useful. There's some interesting notes on there. Yeah, it doesn't like that at all. Ooh, that's a bit too many brackets. I know I like my brackets, but still. Brackets don't actually have magical powers. Also, if you accidentally go into ink mode when you change the ink of the paper and then go back and forth, and the same with inverse video, you better take those out, otherwise it'll balk when you come to compile it. We're clean. Unfortunately, I've not got the error. Basically, if you crash into the X, it still doesn't work, and the numbers are still there, and it's still incredibly fast because the for loop I put in earlier isn't actually used because I forgot to put in the next. Because I'm rather foolish. So what we're now going to do is take out this, do it properly, so we're not printing twice. So you go printing, that's the top row, and then underneath is the bottom of the row. Line 96 is the bottom. So what I need you to do here is, because y plus 4 is a calculation, I need to put it in brackets for it to work properly. So it's still too fast, but we've got the road done properly, which is very, very nice. We also don't have error correction. It also looks like I've actually managed to escape off the road. So eventually I'm going to try something different. So rather than just what's on the screen, I'll try the attribute of what's on the screen, because the walls are in fact blue. So basically what we're saying is, if the attribute of the square is blue, this is blue paper I believe, then you've crashed. So because you've crashed off the road. And let's see if that works. It works, which is nice. We like this. This is called progress. So now we've got a wibbly wobbly road, and I've crashed straight away because I'm incompetent. Lovely sound, but there's too much of it. So what I'm going to do is, rather than have 50 of those explosions, let's just have 5. This is enough, I think. And here I'm going to make it slower. Let's say 10,000. This time I actually got the next in there, so we'll actually slow it down. And that's far too slow. There's no point having compiled code that's slower than basic. But 5 explosions is good. So I've now adjusted the delay from 10,000 downwards, and that's pretty good. Unfortunately, I've got some stuff that's now 5,000, but it doesn't change based on level. So what we're now going to do is every time you go up a level, it gets smaller and smaller. So you get faster and faster, it gets harder and harder. So this is the delay set to 5,000 divided by 1, which is still 5,000. This is 5,000 divided by 2, or 2,500. 5,000 divided by 3, divided by 4, divided by 5. So not quite right. So now we've changed it to, say, how about 600 minus 600 times t, or 750 times t. So every level it gets drops by 750. So eventually it might go negative, who knows. So nice and leisurely for level 1. We are now not trailing bad characters behind us, which is nice. It's noticeably faster for level 2. Level 3 is a fair lick, but not impossible. The road is realistic. The beep is just the standard beep 1. It's not the best of sounds, but the explosion is very cool. Then you just say the actual assembled code, which I'm calling as Roadrunner MC. And here you just save the code starting at 40,000 and for the rest of the memory, which will also ship the compiler with it, starting at address 60,000. So I think that was a very interesting compiler and a bit of a problem for Wye Valley, because your £8 compiler is shipped free with a budget game. Certainly there's some cool stuff in there, like setting attributes of you can change the colour of the entire screen with REM F. You can scroll lines to the left and right by 1 pixel. You can get mini sprite brackets by plotting characters at You can print characters at pixel positions with REM Sexy or SEXY with a character number E, which is very, very cool. So you can actually move characters around the screen quite nicely. Causing error numbers, scrolling, colour attributes, and it's really rather nice. The big thing is if you don't get the manual unless you actually go and find out on Spectrum Computing. So you look at save all of memory, and there you go. Thank you for watching.